And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Nanobot Battle Arena. Now, as a disclaimer, I did do a paid preview for this when it was on Kickstarter from Derpy Games. Back then they were showing these big plastic robots, and I'm glad that they decided to change it down to just tiles because the game comes with a whole pile of them and a bunch of robots. This game, the size of this box feels kind of exact for what it is. In this game, you are basically, it's a strategy game from the future, okay? And you have these little nanobots that are fighting each other. You're trying to form chains with them and manipulate them with cards. Here's how it works. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to pick which virus they are: Kronos or Storm or Relic or Inferno or Blight or Ghost or Vex or Green. Each of these will show you which stack of little robot microbes that you're supposed to be taking. So you'll take a stack of those, and then the game begins. Now, on a player's turn, they're going to place one of these in the middle of the table and add it to a grid. The first person can place theirs wherever they want. After that, you just have to place it touching someone else's. The only rule is you can never place it, see where this is called the base of one of these little microbes, or nanobots, I'm sorry. You can't place it in front of those, so this would be illegal, while this would be completely fine. Now, what you're trying to do in this game is you're trying to build a chain of these. So here, they're both pointing at the same spot, so it's okay for me to build one there. But here I have a chain of 4. If this was turned this way, I would have a chain of 2 and a chain of 2. So that's what you're trying to do at the end of the game, which is when one person runs out of tiles, then whoever has the longest chain, is the winner. Now, after you place one of these tiles on your turn, you also will play a card. And players are going to have a handful of cards at the beginning of the game of 6 cards. These cards have values of 1, 2, or 3. 3s are rarer than the other cards. And you'll start the game with 1 3, 2 2s, and 3 1s, random. And after that, you're just drawing from the deck. When you play these, you'll get to take the action, and you get to take it the number of times on the card, unless you are the same color. So in this pivot action, for example, this robot here, I don't remember who that one is, that's the Vex nanobot. This would count as a 2 card for him. So the pivot card lets you rotate one of a nanobot. It doesn't have to be one of your own. Just rotate it to a new position. So if you played the 3, you would rotate 3 to new positions. Burn is where you can just basically destroy a nanobot that's at the end or the beginning of a chain. And the orange guys would be, this burn 1 doesn't even work against them. A burn 2 would let you destroy 1 rather than 2. When you petrify an opponent, you basically flip them over, and until they get unpetrified, they are not going to be able to do anything or count as part of a chain. When you blink, you move a nanobot to a new legal location. When you freeze, you're going to get rid of random cards from your opponent's hand. When you surge, you're going to basically shoot a nanobot in your line of sight and get rid of it. When you infect, you destroy nanobots and replace them with your own. And when you grow, you simply get to put out extra ones, which is great. Like for the green guy, if he played this grow 1, it would be a grow 2, and so he would get to put out extra nanobots as time went by. Now, there's all sorts of special things where, it's possible that something will happen that will cause a split, or, a guy will be off by himself, etc. You can't build diagonally, and if you use all the tiles, you'll get a pretty big grid after a while with a lot of different craziness going on. But like I said, whoever has the longest chain when the game ends is the winner. Okay, there's one thing I have to be very adamant about in this. First of all, when you're playing the game, it says, decide what division you're going to want to do. Do you want to play with 15, 30, 45, or 60 nanobot tiles per player? If you need more than 15, which is what the game comes with, you need to buy extra sets. First of all, that's crazy. I can't imagine anybody doing that. If you do, let me know. I would be very surprised. That's just, wow. The game is the length that it is. It doesn't need to be extended. I can't imagine playing longer. Secondly, this game varies very differently on number of players. When you play with 2 players, it is a pretty interesting, slightly chaotic tile laying game and enjoyable. I like it that way. 3 players, we start pushing the boundaries. 4 is bad, 5 is awful, 6 is so terrible it may not be spoken of again, and 7 and 8, are you crazy? At that point, it is just utter chaos. Doesn't even make any sense. Blah, 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 blah. It just, you play a card and you wait till your turn, your stuff got blown up, and rotate tiles and do this. And there's like no strategy, no move, counter move. It's just blah, 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 blah. So never play it with more than 3 players. And I can't imagine anyone enjoying that unless you're like, oh, look what's happened now. Just everyone will be disappointed because they'll try to put a chain together and like 4 people will mess with it before it comes their next turn. Well, how is that fun? I think some concepts are cool. I love the fact that there's nanobots and each one has a special power. Essentially, it makes one of the cards better. That's a great concept. And in a 2-player game, it works well. I'm the growing guy, so I'm moving fast, and you're the burning guy, so you're trying to burn me faster than normal. That's an interesting concept, and it works well as we go back and forth. And even a 2-player game where both players have 2 different kinds of nanobots, that also works quite well. And 3 is interesting too, because again, there's 2 people messing you up before your next turn. But go beyond that, and it devolves into a chaotic, muddled mess. Now, the game is beautiful. The cards are of very high quality. They look good. They're sharp looking. The tiles look great. They feel good. They're easy to see. I like how they have a different color back for when they're petrified. And you know, I like the different aliens. The different nanobots. And so there's some really nice things here. And it is small, much better than the robot prototype I had initially seen. It fits in a small package, but yeah, it works pretty well for a 2 to 3 player game, but I don't, it's horrible above that. Unless you like random chaotic messes, which some people do. So I'm really not recommending this at that point. I think maybe for 2 players you'd have a good time, and that's fine. If that sounds interesting, a 2-player tile laying game, then for those folks I would recommend it. But for everybody else, if you want random games, there's already quite a few out there like Flux and so on. This one is kind of like tile flux in a sense. It sounds so strategic and it sounds so cool, and it does work that way in a 2-player game, just not with more than that. So Nanobot Battle Arena, oh, cool idea, just doesn't work multiplayer.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There.